had to name West Ham's main match winner next season, that's easy. It's Jarrod Bowen. We hope that West Ham sign a new striker. We hope that that guy comes in and becomes the top goal scorer. But you couldn't say it's certain. We're historically really bad at this stuff, at signing strikers. We're not particularly good at it. And Jarrod Bowen's just that damn good. He was the top assist getter and the top goal scorer for West Ham last season. No doubt about it. But if I was to ask you who is going to be West Ham's second most likely match winner next season, if you knew Thomas Soucek at Bayer, it'd be Tomas Soucek. So Soucek scored the second most goals last season, scored 9 goals. Third was Mohamed Kudus with 5 goals. So there's a big difference between second and third. 9 goals for Soucek. By almost any metric, he is a match winner. He might not be the most silky player on the eye, but in both boxes, he's very, very good. His passing technique, which seems to desert him in the middle of the pitch, is completely transformed when he gets into the box. He's got such brilliant shooting technique. He's got timing, which I think is a really hard thing to measure. And he's just been a brilliant player. 9 goals last season, not particularly exceptional. That's sort of what you expect him to do. He scored double figures before his first full season with West Ham. He scored double figures. In fact, his only real dip was when David Moyes, he was trying to get Declan Rice to stay, wasn't he? So he was allowing Declan Rice to develop his game. And then there was probably about a season and a half where I felt that Tomas Soucek played more of an auxiliary centre-back. He kept on dropping into central defence from midfield. He'd had his wings clipped, didn't he? He wasn't allowed to sort of get into the box in the way that he did. But anyway, that's by the by, really. All in all, Tomas Soucek was a brilliant player for David Moyes. So it's no surprise to see David Moyes linked with a bid for him. In many respects, I guess a lot of us are surprised it hasn't happened before now. It was the obvious transfer, the transfer that was most likely to happen at the start of the window. I very much thought, well, Moyesy coming in for Tomas Soucek, that makes absolute sense. Particularly when you know that Graham Potter's looking to move in a different direction with the way that he's going to play and all that type of thing. But I couldn't help but think about this whole match-winning situation. And it was something that spiked my interest on it because I heard it was used to describe Mohamed Kudus leaving for Tottenham. West Ham have lost a match winner. It didn't feel like it last season. I didn't feel that Kudus won us too many games. But, that was a bad season. I've no doubt that he's going to perform better for Tottenham next season than he did for West Ham last season. But in his first season, absolutely very much a match winner. So whether you think he was... Well, he did underperform, doesn't matter. He did underperform last season. We still have lost a match winner in Mohamed Kudus. Now, we hope that Crescencio Somerville becomes that, but we don't actually have any proof. We don't have proof yet that Crescencio Somerville is going to regularly score goals. So I do think it's a bit of a risk if West Ham are going to start selling our second most likely person that's going to win us a match. We hope Fulkrug does better. I mean, Fulkrug scored 3 goals last season. I think certainly 2 of those goals were goals in games where we were being thrashed anyway. They weren't important goals. They weren't game-winning goals. And that's another thing that Soucek is really good at getting goals that get you a win or get you a point. It's not just timing of his runs in the box. It's timing of the importance in games. Now, I want to make myself clear here because I'm not saying that I think Tomas Soucek should be starting every single game. I want to make myself very, very clear. Because yesterday I did a video about how much we need Graham Potter to be successful. But I started the video by saying I've not really seen anything in Graham Potter that makes me think he's an outstanding coach. I think we're 20 years behind in terms of our ownership. And I very much believe that if Graham Potter fails, that the board could get it even worse. They're so bad at hiring managers, I think they'd get it even worse. And I said I'm worried about relegation. And that was what I was saying that's what I said yesterday. Yet there were some people saying, I can't believe you're so optimistic about Graham Potter. That wasn't what I was saying. I'm not optimistic. I just think we need him. We need a miracle from him. We need him to be better than he's demonstrated so far. That was it. So I just was, maybe I didn't make it completely clear what I was saying. So let me make this really, really clear now. if Graham Potter's intention is to bring in more technicality to the midfield and some athleticism, I think that's good. I think that's something we absolutely should be doing. I think it's something we need. I thought we were poor, awful in midfield last season. But in a way that I've spoken about a few players, you do get to a point where players are contracted to West Ham. So even though I don't feel that maybe Thomas Soucek should be starting every game, it's not. I don't feel it's so binary that he either starts every game or we sell him. I think that's a hell of a weapon to have on the bench if you're struggling in games that actually you need a goal. Bring Tomas Soucek off the bench, and I'm talking about a second highest top goal scorer from last season. I'm talking about someone who is proven. He's not so far past it that we need to get rid of him. He's 30 years of age. He's actually in his prime. You can imagine it in your mind next season, a game that West Ham are trailing, maybe a 1-0 down, maybe it's 0-0, whatever, and you need that goal. And he makes the late run into the box and he scores. I think it would be a hell of a risk to sell him, and particularly at this price, which is rumoured to be £12 million. £12 million, what do we get from that? Well, apart from £12 million, of course. Is the money that we get from Everton worth more than, I guess, the usefulness of having Thomas Soucek on the bench as this in emergency break glass solution where we can just win a game, claw a game back that we're losing? It just seems a really, really small amount of money. Particularly, we are not in a position with Soucek that we were in with Kudus. Kudus, or so you hear, whether it's true or not, I don't know. Kudus was forcing a move. I've got to say, the more I've seen of the stuff, you'll find Tottenham in there if you search my heart and all this stuff. I would imagine he probably was. He changed his agent, didn't he, Kudus? So he probably was looking for a move. This is not what you're hearing with Thomas Soucek. Thomas Soucek is not agitating for a move from West Ham. In fact, he'd like to sign a new deal. Said he'd like to captain West Ham one day. I think these are good ambitions. If you heard him, he's got such a good attitude. He did an interview yesterday with the club website. Said he'd had 5 weeks off or something like that, and he spent the first 2 weeks with his family, had a nice holiday with his family. Then he started getting prepared for the season. Started doing his fitness regime and stuff like that. He is the consummate professional. This is not someone that's going to kick off. There were times last season when he was dropped from the starting lineup by Lopetegui and by Potter, but he was always there. You don't get a moment's trouble from him. I'm not sure why we're forcing ourselves into this situation. Now, don't get me wrong, we got too many midfielders, far too many midfielders. But we hear that Lewis Orford's going to go out on loan next season. I think that's a really, really good move. I think West Ham did worse and send him to Portsmouth because they did such a good job with Freddie Potts. Freddie Potts is going to be around. Irving's still there. Can't imagine he's going to stay, but Irving's still there. Rodriguez is still there. Alvarez is still there. Ward-Prowse is still there. Out of all of those players, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine I'm on my own. I'm sure I won't be. I'd rather get rid of Ward-Prowse than Soucek. Why is he like Ward-Prowse so much to get him? Why is he going offer for him? I don't. Again, I think he's got his usefulness from the set plays and whatnot. And I guess you could argue that in terms of supply, then Ward-Prowse is probably a match winner. But in terms of proven match winners for West Ham, there's no comparison. You couldn't compare the two, Ward-Prowse and Thomas Soucek. I just saw it and I thought, everyone wants the match winner. Everyone wants the guy that has proven to score goals. They're very rare, I'd imagine. Very rare. Particularly midfielders who are guaranteed goals in the Premier League. When I say guaranteed, obviously, someone gets an injury, they can't score. But I think if Thomas Soucek played 38 games for pretty much anyone next season, he's scoring goals. He's scoring between 5 and 10 goals in the Premier League. That's just what he does. I just think it's a hell of a risk. A hell of a risk. I understand why Moyes would want him. And I understand why Graham Potter would like to overhaul the midfield. I agree with that. But there's got to be some sort of halfway house. There's got to be some space in the squad where you have a player like that. I think he's dragging the average age of the squad down. Well, he looks like he's done it. He's replaced a 30-year-old at left back left wing back, whatever you want to call it, with a 20-year-old. You know, he's going to continue to do that. No doubt about that at all. But you haven't got to. That doesn't mean you've got to throw out everybody that's that age, right? There's some experience and some leadership, and he's certainly got that in an abundance. I don't know. I don't know whether we'll be battling it out with Everton next season. As I say, I'm quite worried about next season. I think we'll be down the lower end of things. But it's going to be really highly competitive, the Premier League next season. I'm not sure I want to be giving any of our rivals somebody that's going to score goals. It wouldn't surprise you if Soucek went to Everton and you saw him on Match of the Day scoring goals. It wouldn't surprise you if he went to Everton and scored 10 goals next season. No one would be surprised at that. So I'm not sure why we would offer them the opportunity to do it unless the player was kicking off and agitating for a move, which he's not, or we were going to get so much money that it was going to allow us to make a difference in someone else that we were bidding for. I would expect Ward-Prowse to fetch 12 million. I'd expect Alvarez to fetch more than 12 million. I'd expect Laguerre to fetch more than 12 million. It just seems like Emerson, I don't know. 8-9 million. But Emerson's not providing the same level of output that Soucek guarantees. Anyway, you get the point. Let me know what you think in the comments below.